Explanation of the book, The Courage to Be Unloved. Introduction to the book. The Courage to Be Unloved is a Japanese book written by Ikaro Kashimi and Fumitake Koga, and is based on the ideas of the Austrian psychologist Alfred Adler. The book discusses how to achieve psychological freedom and happiness by breaking free from the restrictions of society and the expectations of others. The book uses the method of philosophical dialogue between a young man suffering from problems in his life and a wise philosopher who represents Adler's philosophy. Throughout the book, the young man asks questions that reflect the concerns of the average person, while the philosopher answers with answers that may seem shocking or illogical at first, but they open a new horizon for understanding life. The main idea of the book: happiness does not come from pleasing others, but from having the courage to be yourself, even if not everyone likes you. Chapter 1. Rejecting Inevitability. You are not a victim of your past. 1.1. Why do people believe that the past determines the future? Many people think that their lives are predetermined because of their childhood or previous experiences. They believe that their psychological problems, such as anxiety or shyness, are the result of past events such as bullying or childhood abuse. This idea is consistent with Freud's theory, which says that a person is governed by his past and psychological traumas. But the philosopher strongly opposes this idea and tells the young man, you do not suffer because of your past, but because you choose to suffer now. 1.2. How does Adler differ from Freud? Freud believes that a person is controlled and that his problems are due to past traumas. As for Adler, he believes that a person is free to determine his future, regardless of his past. The problem is not in the experience itself, but in how we choose to interpret it. Example: a person says, I am shy because I was bullied as a child. The philosopher responds, no, you are shy because you want to avoid social interaction now, not because of your childhood. Conclusion: the past does not determine your future, but your current decisions do. Chapter 2. Free yourself from the need for approval. 2.1. Why do we suffer because of others? Many people spend their lives trying to please others. This makes them feel constant anxiety. What will people say about me? But the philosopher tells the young man a shocking truth. If you want to be happy, you must have the courage to be unpopular. 2.2. How to free yourself from social anxiety. 1. Accept the idea that some people will not like your style, and this is normal. 2. Don't try to win everyone's admiration, because that is impossible. 3. Focus on your life and your goals instead of waiting for others to approve. Example: a person refuses to publish his artwork for fear of being criticized. The philosopher explains, if you believe in your work, do it even if others do not like it. Conclusion: true happiness comes from living your life according to your principles, not according to what others want from you. Chapter 3. All problems are social relationship problems. 3.1. Why do we suffer in our lives? According to Adler, almost all human problems are related to social relationships. Even anxiety and depression problems often come from our fear of how others view us. The solution is not to escape from society, but to change our view of relationships. 3.2. How to deal with toxic relationships. Don't try to change others, but focus on changing your reaction to them. Don't hold yourself responsible for the feelings of others. Conclusion: separate your opinion of yourself from the opinion of others about you, and don't make your happiness depend on them. Chapter 4. Separating your task from the task of others. 4.1. What is your task and what is the task of others? One of the most important principles of Adler's philosophy is to differentiate between your responsibilities and the responsibilities of others. The philosopher says, you can't control what people think of you because that's not your job. 4.2. How do you apply this concept in your life? 1. If you're afraid of being criticized by others, remember that their opinion of you is not your responsibility. 2. If someone refuses to help you, don't take it personally because it's their decision. Conclusion: don't carry the burden of other people's feelings and focus only on what you can change. Chapter 5. Live in the present instead of the future or the past. 5.1. Why shouldn't you link your happiness to the future? Many people say, I'll be happy when I'm rich. I'll be happy when people love me. But the philosopher completely disagrees and says, happiness doesn't come from waiting for something in the future, but from fully living the present moment. 5.2. How do you live the moment? 1. Focus on what you can do now instead of worrying about the future. 2. Your happiness does not depend on success or money, but on enjoying life now. 3. Be grateful for what you have instead of focusing on what you lack. Conclusion. Happiness is not a goal in the future, but rather your choice in the present moment. Conclusion. Have the courage to be unpopular. What is the final message of the book? Don't let the past or the opinions of others control your life. Have the courage to be yourself, even if not everyone likes you. Focus on your life instead of seeking the approval of others. The most important lessons learned from the book: the past does not determine your future, but your current decisions do. Don't try to please everyone, because that is impossible and will make you miserable. Separate your responsibilities from the responsibilities of others, and focus on what you can change. All problems come from social relationships, and the solution is to free yourself from the need for recognition. Happiness is not in the future, but in the present moment. In short, the courage to be unloved is the courage to be yourself, without fear or pretense. The book contains philosophical stories and examples within the dialogue between the philosopher and the young man, and they aim to clarify Alfred Adler's ideas about freedom, personal responsibility, and social relations. Here are the most prominent stories in the book with their explanations. 1. The story of the shy man who does not want to change himself. The story: a young man tells the philosopher that he suffers from extreme shyness, and that he is unable to make friends or speak in front of people because of that. He believes that his shyness is due to his harsh childhood, where he was the subject of ridicule by others, and therefore he did not have any friends. The philosopher responds to him with a surprising response. You are not shy because of your past, but because you choose to be shy now. The young man is surprised, but objects and says, this is not my choice, but something beyond my control. The philosopher explains to him, shyness is not a problem in the past, but rather a goal that a person sets for himself in the present. The young man chooses to be shy because he wants to avoid forming social relationships for fear of rejection or embarrassment. If the young man decides that he is no longer shy, it means that he must take responsibility for entering into new relationships. And this is something that scares him. Lesson learned: people do not suffer because of their past, but because they use it as an excuse for not changing. If you want to change yourself, you must take responsibility for your current decisions instead of blaming the past. 2. The story of the man who hates his boss at work. Story: an employee says that he hates his boss at work because he is a domineering and always critical person. This employee suffers from stress and psychological pressure every day because of being in this place. The philosopher asks him, could there be another reason for you to stay at work other than the need for money? The employee answers, no, I cannot leave the job because I need money. But the philosopher explains to him, if he really hated his job, why hasn't he left it yet? The real reason he's staying in this job is because he wants to stay in it, but he doesn't admit it. There may be an ulterior motive, such as a sense of job security or fear of looking for another job. So the problem isn't with his boss, but with his own choices. Lesson learned: if you're struggling with something, you probably have an internal reason for sticking with it. Instead of complaining, ask yourself why you choose to stay in the same situation. 3. The story of the mother who worries too much about her son. The story: a mother tells the philosopher that she's very worried about her teenage son because she feels that he's irresponsible and might make bad decisions in his life. She says that she can't sleep because of how much she worries about him, and she interferes in every detail of his life to prevent him from making mistakes. The philosopher asks her, does this worry help your son? The mother replies, I do it because I love him, and I don't want him to suffer. But the philosopher explains to her, if the mother continues to interfere in every detail of her son's life, he will never become a person responsible for himself. Anxiety is not love. It is an attempt to control. Her son needs to learn from his mistakes himself, not for his mother to live his life instead of him. Lesson learned: we must differentiate between love and the desire to control others. True parenting means allowing children to experience life for themselves. 4. The story of the girl who is afraid of being unloved. The story. A girl suffers from an intense fear of rejection from others. So she always tries to be nice to them, even if it is at the expense of her comfort. She believes that her happiness depends on how well others accept her. The philosopher asks her, do you think it is possible to please all people all the time? The girl answers, no, but I can't stand the thought of being hated by anyone. The philosopher explains to her, no one can be loved by everyone, and this is normal. True happiness comes when you accept yourself as you are, not when you seek the approval of others. A person who seeks to please everyone will lose his identity because he will give up his true opinions to avoid rejection. Lesson learned: true courage is to be yourself, even if others don't like it. If you live your life trying to please everyone, you will not live your true life. 5. The story of the man who did not find meaning in his life. The story. A man feels that his life is meaningless, and he says that he cannot find a purpose that makes him happy. He feels empty, and he does not know what to do to change that. The philosopher asks him, are you trying to help others? The man replies, no. How can I help others if I am not happy myself? The philosopher explains to him, happiness does not come from seeking personal pleasure alone. A person finds meaning in his life when he is part of society and contributes to improving the lives of others. When you help others, you are actually helping yourself and feeling that your life has value. Lesson learned: if you feel that your life is meaningless, start helping others, and you will find your happiness there. Meaning does not come from searching for it, but from living in a way that makes it appear on its own. Conclusion. What do we learn from these stories? Our problems are not due to the past, but to our decisions in the present. You cannot control the feelings of others, but you can control your actions. The fear of rejection will make you live a life that is not yours. Happiness does not come from pleasing others, but from living according to your convictions. The true meaning of life is found in serving others. Not everyone likes you.